Leave the minutes, Steve.
I'm sorry?
The minutes, just so I could. No, it's okay.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
have
what I
a
did with
copy
mine. Thank
there.
you.
You'll see I noted a typo or grammatical change. All right, who are ready? Okay. This is the Country Club of Woodbridge Commission meeting of March 23rd, 2015. First item on the agenda is public comments. Presently, there's no one in attendance. I would like to make a comment, not a public comment exactly, but for record, I would like to note that of the 160 golf courses that Billy Casper Golf operates in the States, that the Country Club of Woodbridge earned the most improved facility of those 160 in 2014, and Dennis Petrozelli, our golf course superintendent, earned Golf Course Superintendent of the Year.
That's great.
That is lovely.
Yeah,
That
good
is
stuff,
really wonderful.
Good stuff. Well earned. Okay, the minutes of the meeting of February 23rd, has everyone had the opportunity to review these?
Fairly short.
Short and sweet? Did I miss anything? Or?
No.
Oh, okay,
We like our secretary.
there you go. There you go. Thank you. I will entertain a motion for approval then. Phyllis?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any additional comments or whatever? Oh yeah, I did want to note, just as an aside, there is a grammar issue. Let's see. Under review of 2014 year-end results, second paragraph, third line all the way on the right, was should be were. So that's going to be changed. But otherwise, all approved? All right, moving on. All right, Mr. Miller, you have a short presentation. I think the sequence is a little bit different than we had on the meeting, but that's fine.
I apologize for that, guys.
Okay.
So we do have just a few things we'd like to touch on with the presentation this week or this month. Just a quick update of where we're at as far as the due structure go. We're at $212,000 on a budget of $259,000. That comes out to we're at 82% of our plan. We're excited about that number because we haven't got a lot of our Twilight members to recommit yet, but we anticipate the majority of those coming back. And then we also have some others in the pipeline. Of note, we've got about $60,000 in the pipeline right now, so that would exceed what we have, and of that, the conversion rate is very high for those members in the pipeline.
Before you go off of that, tell me how many members are we talking about?
This will put us, we'll be right around the 230, 240 mark for membership, total members.
And how many of that number are new for the year 2015?
Roughly 16 to 18 members. With we have another two that will be I have a meeting with on Friday, and we anticipate probably picking up another half dozen, if not more, as we move forward.
Okay, that's great.
The outing revenue, we're looking at $174K. This is 74% of our budget. With another, I think we converted one of these over today, so another $36,000 in the pipeline. So
where would we have been last year at this time?
We were probably rating that 109 to 112 range.
Yeah.
So some
more
growth
activity.
year over year.
Booked at this point in time?
That's correct, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because last year, if you remember, we did some things kind of in that January, February timeframe where we reached out to the section that we hosted an event. Those events were more to get us exposure than they were to probably generate revenue. And while they do fill some slots in your teach sheet, the events that we're targeting now are typically charity based, or they are designed to be repeated events for one cause or another. And so the nice thing about those events are they're going to do them year over year over year. So and the APR is very good for us. The last kind of depressing stat there is since January 24th we've been closed. So we are ready to go from a personnel standpoint, from a golf course standpoint. We're just waiting on some snow to melt. So.
When you say from a personnel standpoint, do you have someone replacing someone that we lost?
Yes, we do.
Good.
We have a negotiation that's probably going to take place in the next couple days.
Oh, okay.
With a young lady from a sister facility. We think she's a very qualified candidate. We went through six people, and we didn't quite find the right candidate, so we looked again, and we think we have somebody who's worth bringing on board. It's going to be a great fit for us. So
that's exciting.
we will we'll have to negotiate a little bit as far as pay range, and also the facility she's at may end up costing me a case of Bud Light or two. But with that being said, we think that she's going to be a great fit for us.
Oh, I think that's wonderful.
This is Billy Casper Group is going to, or explain the position.
It's an assistant general manager position.
Okay.
And this is somebody who would help out with the day-to-day operations. They will be responsible for tournament operations, tee sheet management, general oversight over your outside service team. So we think that that's going to be a good position for us to fill. I know that we're very picky on kind of who we bring into our family. So with that being said, we think that she's a great candidate, and we'll do.
Now, last year we didn't have an assistant general manager at all.
We did. We had Ray Burns, and
Okay.
we joked, but we're half serious that we want to keep him for a year, then ship him off to bigger and better things. And
Good.
so Ray took the head golf professional position at another club in the area,
Okay.
which he was in great terms with us when he left, and we wish him nothing but the best. So
I think it will be interesting to have a woman.
we think so too. We think there's a lot of benefit to it.
I think that, all those women who are sitting at the pool that I want to turn into golfers, this might help to do it.
Absolutely.
We're excited for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And she's a type of personality that I think people will gravitate to and be good for business.
I
So.
think that's great.
And Dennis, your people, I mean, how do you stage going from like here until full time? I mean, or not, or full complement rather?
We typically bring our long seasonal workers back supposedly last week, but
Okay.
it just couldn't.
Obviously,
It made no sense.
Yeah.
So we're just watching it day to day to see when the weather's going to break enough where it's worth bringing them back to start working outside.
And most of what they'd be doing is like tree litter. And
Cleanup. We
yeah.
start with cleanup first, get
Yeah.
the greens cleaned off, course cleaned up, get it ready for play.
Yeah.
And once we get to that done, then we'll start phasing into some small project work. We have to finish the bunkers that we're filling in on number one, so they'll help with that. We're looking to get sand in for the bunkers, so they'll help transport that out to the bunkers that need it. So they'll just fill in until we're ready to start mowing grass, basically.
Okay.
Project work.
Or until the grass is ready or starts growing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can start to see the grass.
Well, we can
Is
see
the
it, yeah.
greens or the grass the longest stage in terms of getting open? Which is more problematical? Getting the greens ready, having the grass, void of freeze or frozen spots.
Well, unfortunately, the course doesn't thaw down uniformly throughout the property.
Right.
The 9th hole, you're familiar with the golf course, the 9th hole and the 15th is the last two areas that will thaw out and melt off snow because they just don't get enough sun this time of year. The sun angle's too low, and it just takes time for those holes to warm up and melt down. So,
But until they're ready, you can't open up the golf course?
well, we have in the past. I mean, if we wait for them, it could be May, and we don't want to do that. So, the greens actually probably burn off the quickest because they have more of the sandy content in them, and they heat up quicker and then melt down faster. But the wetter holes, the lower lying holes, where it's probably a good 5 degrees cooler than the higher golf course.
So what's your most optimistic time that you could start generating some rounds?
Well, I'm waiting to see how we warm up this week. We've got some rain coming in. We've got some 50-degree weather coming in. If we get some fog, we get some warmer nighttime temperatures, we melt down quick. Then we need to thaw down the ground and dry that down. So it's just, there's no crystal ball for this right now. It's just a day-to-day thing.
I sound like a politician. But I guess.
Early
You
April.
think that early April is
I'm
a
guessing.
possibility? Okay.
I'm guessing.
Maybe by mid-April then.
You never know. We could have another snowstorm.
we could get rain on what Thursday and up to
Wednesday and
yeah,
Thursday,
and
right.
be open Friday. I mean, it's really it really
Well,
just
that
depends.
fast,
But
yeah, the fear that we have agronomically is if we open too quickly and the ground is very soft, we create a lot of damage.
Sure. And that I can
So
understand.
we have to ensure that we're dried down enough and thawed out enough on the top, a few inches,
Sure.
that we can support even foot traffic. Because if we go too soon, then we're going to see the damage
We've
later in the
experienced
year.
that. That's a good point.
So we have to be, we have to tread carefully.
so what we're going to do is we'll go to this agronomic plan. I know there's a lot of content in here. I'm actually going to let Dennis speak to it on just a couple of highlights that we've got going on. If you have any questions, I do have the agronomic schedule that lays out in detail kind of when we start doing everything, height of cut, fertilization schedules, chemical applications. So if you have any questions, feel free to look at that. But I'm going to let Dennis.
Is that the same one that was done in the fall, or has that been revised as part of the?
He'll speak a little bit here on some of the changes that were implemented from 14 to 15, but very similar.
Okay. Dennis?
As a foundation, our program is more or less the same. We have done a few tweaks and wrinkles to improve efficiencies, costs. The highlights, as in your handout here, is we're looking to expand our crabgrass and grub control into the roughs for this coming year. We've battled grub damage for the last 3 years in the roughs. The skunks and raccoons and whatnot have done a nice job ripping us up, so I'm just not going to tolerate that anymore. So I earmarked money for the rough to get them controlled, and we're going to do crabgrass control at the same time while we're going out. We're expanding our wetting agent program into our fairways more. Wetting agent, what it does, we're using there's many different kinds of wetting agents, but this one I'm particularly talking about is a long-term product that keeps water retention in the soil for 90 days. Where this has worked extremely well is where we have shallow soil on top of ledge, like our 7th hole, for instance. The product has worked extremely well there. Anywhere where we have a lot of rocky areas, this product performs extremely well for us, so we don't have to constantly be babysitting grass that's burning up, that's heating up. And
Is it like petroleum based?
it's actually similar to a soap.
Okay.
A soap, it breaks the surface tension of water. Water has plus and minus charges. What it does is neutralizes the charges so the water can flow freely instead of running off.
Okay.
So we haven't had the budget dollars to treat completely all the fairways. It's very expensive. We've been piecemealing it, spot treatment each year, a little more, and we're going even further this year. We're getting close. I'm hoping for 2016 that we'll be able to do all the fairways.
But it's present, or it has been used historically on the greens, or those
No,
green areas that are
we've been
subject to
keeping
it?
this product
Yeah.
on the fairways. We use a different
Okay.
type of product on the greens.
Okay.
I want a little better moisture control, so I don't want a 90-day product on the greens because those are our babies. We need to control moisture better. Fairways, you can get away with being a little wetter or a little drier. Also,
Excuse me, Dennis,
Sure.
would this help on the first fairway?
Yes.
That gets so beat up,
Yes.
where you start to make the turn.
yes, because there is a lot of ledge there as well.
Right, I know. Yeah.
So we are expanding more into that first hole as well. So other than the agronomic program, like I said, it's pretty much the same other than a few slight twists and wrinkles. But the highlights are additional crabgrass and grub control into the rough areas, expanded wetting agent program into the fairways more. We are purchasing a fairway aerator this May So that will improve the impact of our aerations. Before, we haven't had the ability to really aerate as well as we wanted to.
Does this go to a different depth, you mean, or when you say?
It's a totally different machine that will actually pull a core out of the ground.
Oh, okay.
We didn't have the ability to do that before. We were just
You
using a
sweep, or
solid
you
tine. What we'll do is rework the
Pulverize.
soil back in
Yeah.
and then blow off the debris.
Okay.
And we'll get much more bang for our buck aerating in that type of manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, we're going to continue to work on the bunkers. The worst ones first, adding sand where it needs it, repairing drainage where it's not working. We have them all detailed which ones need the most sand and which need drainage attention. Other than that, what we're doing is working, and we just want to keep tweaking it until we get it to work even that much better.
So Dennis, or one of the challenges that we have this year is being on, what will we call it, 1.5 pumps? Just to remind everyone, the pump house basically has 2 pumps. Both were installed at the same time. One of them has failed. The other one is, in danger of failing. The one that has failed is going to be replaced, and the one that is in danger of failing, we're just going to hope survives.
What we're going to do when the vendor comes in with the new pump and installs it is we have the ability to rotate the hours on the pumps. So pump 1 and pump 2, for instance, they take different turns. They take turns which one would start first. All right, so if, let's say, we have a demand for water, pump 1 comes on first, and if we exceed the demand of what that pump can do, pump 2 would come on. So they call that lead lag. If they shut down, then we call for water again, pump 2 would come on first.
Okay.
And until it maxes its capacity, pump 1 would be called for if there's more water. So they're constantly rotating which starts first. So that rotates their hours, gives them a longer life as far as one not getting beat up more so than the other, and then you have, it's just a wear factor. So what I'm going to do when they put the new pump in is have them change the programming where the new pump stays the lead pump for now. And then the older one will just follow when it needs to come on, it'll come on for the demand.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have them rotate.
Okay.
I'm going to just keep
Who
going.
determines the demand?
I do, based on what we need to. What needs
So
to
it's
work.
controlled by you, whether it's you or your computer.
Right.
Where do these pumps come from?
We have a vendor that we use out of upstate Connecticut, very reputable. They didn't install the system originally, but they are, I think they service just about every other golf course in the state.
And how old are the existing pumps there?
They were installed in 1999. So they were 14 years last year, 15 years last year, and that's their life expectancy.
Now, the pump we're getting is a new pump, and
Brand new.
it costs about how much?
I believe it was, it's about $18,000, and then we're replacing some fittings while we're there.
Yeah.
Because they're going to fail if we don't down the road at some point. So the
But
total cost is
ideal
around
would be to have
2021.
2 new pumps.
Well, that's what we tried to pitch to the commission, to the town, but at this point they didn't want to do that,
Okay.
and that's fine as long as we can replace what needs to be taken out.
Will you like modify your irrigation plan, or obviously you're talking about expanded use of wetting agents, which should make irrigation more effective. Is that the right description?
Correct.
Okay.
It allow for less water usage.
Right.
Since fairways are our largest high maintenance area, 24 acres of fairway, we have 4 acres of greens and 2 acres of tees. So 24 acres of fairway is a large area.
Yeah.
That's why we're trying to use this wetting agent product to reduce the water needs and hopefully reduce pump wear and tear as well. Electricity costs are reduced. There's a lot of savings involved. So.
And was the remetering done, or the new meter installed? Whatever.
Meter was installed
The
late
description is.
fall,
Okay.
and it's been taken out for the winter, which is standard operating procedure, so it doesn't freeze and get damaged. It'll get reinstalled come springtime when there's no danger of freezing.
Do you have any other major equipment that you see in its last life, its life stages, is ending, that you are anticipating in the event that there's a problem, you'll have to go to the town or you'll have money for?
Well, we were fortunate when Billy Casper came in that 99% of the fleet was brand new. So we did get some used pieces. They're not used on a daily basis, so the wear and tear is less on them. But I do believe this is our 4th year here at Woodbridge, so I believe, and Tony Genovese and I have spoke about this, is we need to start talking about developing a replacement program. Mm-hmm. Because what's going to happen is, and we're already starting to see it after year 3, is we're putting more repair monies into existing equipment, and over the next year or so, it's going to get more and more and more. And it's just not smart to keep throwing money at it. It's like throwing money out the window. You might as well try to group the most used pieces of equipment and start replacing them out.
So as you develop a capital budget for this type of replacement, is there anything immediate that you see that's likely to go this year that's
No.
going to require?
No.
So we're all right for this year.
We're
But
good
the
for
question
this
is,
year.
what's going to happen in our 5-year plan or 10-year?
Correct.
Tennessee tees. We were talking about rebuilding a tee or two.
Mm-hmm.
Is that off the table for this year, or?
Well, we took priority on going to the bunkers at number 1 first.
Yeah.
I thought
Okay.
that was worth doing just to improve the playability of that hole.
I agree that would be
Plus, we're
That
going
is
to drain
another
those
one.
2 traps that don't crane
right.
at the
Right.
same time. So,
Yeah.
It's a water hazard. Another water hazard.
unintentional water hazard.
Yeah.
I think we're more looking towards next year. As maybe
Okay.
start
Like a
with
fall,
some teams.
or do you mean like a fall project?
Possibly,
Yeah.
yeah. It depends on how the weather holds out for us. That would be my plan. I know Tommy and I have talked about where do we go next?
Yeah.
Where are we headed next? And I think I'd like to start, we've talked about some key tees that need to be put in.
Okay.
How's that brick wall on that
Still
rock
leaning.
wall? That's
Still
holding?
Yeah, I don't know how, who knows when it'll fall. We took a beating on one of the council meetings. They said, you told us that wall was falling in and you wanted money right away. It's like, we're just telling you the wall was leaning. We don't know when it's going to fall. And they like lambasted us. Said, you wanted money right away. So,
You handled it very well.
There you go.
thank you.
There you go. And what about in cart paths? I mean, there's some what will we call it? Reassembly of some of that stuff? Is that the right description?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. But I mean, is that on us, or is that? I mean,
Well,
somebody-
I don't think you
Yeah.
can hold the contractor responsible for that. And when you have a sloped area and a loose, light material that was used, the recycled shingle that we used,
Yeah.
it's just not going to stay because it wasn't warm enough when it was installed and rolled to bind.
Yeah.
So that's the dilemma we have. So
There was some conversation about coming back in the spring and laying down some bonding agent, though.
well, I have a product
Spraying
that the
something like
manufacturer gave us to us.
Yeah.
It's like a pine tar extract.
Okay.
That once it warms up more so into the spring, that I can spray the concentrate on any of these areas where it has washed out. For the time being, until it can warm up, and when I do get out, I bought a flamethrower that I'm going to torch these. Once I repair, I'm going to torch them to create heat for the
Okay.
time being.
Yeah.
And this way, I don't have to go back and keep fixing these areas because it's time consuming.
Yeah.
Every time you get
Yeah.
a rain, wherever it's sloped and the water moves, it's moving these loose. It's a light material.
Yeah.
So I just figured, let me get a torch thrower. I'll get a propane tank and
Yeah.
I'll fix it and torch it. And then when
Okay.
it warms up enough, I'll put the pine tar extract and then let traffic do its thing on it, and hopefully it binds for us.
Yeah.
Where it's flat, it's fine.
Yep.
And you've seen it too, driving around, like
Yeah.
on flat parts of 11. It's
You
perfectly
would even
fine.
see them in the snow.
I have special glasses.
You must.
Okay. Did we finish the agronomic plan?
I think so.
Comments
If
or
anybody
any
has
questions,
It's just, what we're doing is nothing fancy. It's just general practices for the most part. And every site is different, where some areas need more attention than other sites, Racebrook or Woodbridge or Oak Lane. So we're, every course has its subtle nuances or differences that you have to spend a little more time with. So, but for the most part, it's just a fundamental type of program that we're doing.
I know we had wanted to talk about the F&B operation moving into this year. Our start date for service will be April 17th. We're going to be partnering with the New Haven Salad Shop. The temporary solution for...
That was the same party last year?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. The food setup will be from 10 to 4 Monday through Thursday, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be from 8 to 4, and the setup will be on the turn. So it'll be hamburgers and hot dogs and grilled chicken sandwiches, chips. We call it a grab-and-go program. And then as we get in season, we'll expand the menu when they make the turn at the pool. So kind of piggybacking off of what we did last year, but what we've done is we've been able to increase the shoulder seasons to where we can provide service for our guests for a longer period of time. The club will also still be responsible for the alcohol sales and the beverage cart. So,
Or Billy Casper Golf Club. You mean? Yeah. Okay.
Excuse me, Tommy. I think that, I told you I like the emails that I get from you. I think you should put this in an email.
We will.
Okay.
That's,
I think it's really important that people know that
we'll be
they're
doing
going to get food.
a joint email that will also include some stuff for the pool and all of
Okay.
our joint efforts. That will be. I think there's an open house in May with the pool that we're going to be all three working together on. So we can definitely target.
Yeah, I just think that, this is a change, and I think it's a welcome change. And I think that it will, it might bring us, a few more players now knowing that they can get food here.
Correct.
Well, last year we didn't have food until
Right.
June.
Yeah,
Right.
it was, yeah. I mean, we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
We really
Okay.
got.
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I think it's important.
Yeah, we want to make sure, I think we're probably less concerned about the dollars and more so about the experience is what we're...
Right,
what
and
we're-
I'm concerned that I think this will bring us people who have said, we want to be able
Sure.
to get food.
That's exactly right. Any questions
Any
on that?
questions on that or comments?
So we've got, just want to let you know what's going on at the club. So what are we doing to make sure that we've got some business once the snow melts? We do have a Shamrock Fest that was postponed. This sounded like a great idea in December when it hadn't snowed yet, and we said, we'll make some money in early March, So it's gotten pushed back again. It's tentatively rescheduled for this weekend, but again, that's probably a coin flip if we even get open. We do have an event, the Spring Fling, the 26th. We'll do a member guest. We do have a pretty cool event. I don't know if any of you guys are football fans, but we've got a unique event that we're going to do to raise some money for the Wounded Warrior Project. But for you Giants fans, Plexico Burris will be at the club. For you Steelers fans, Antonio Brown from the Pittsburgh Steelers will be there. And we'll be partnering with Matt Kazam, who is a comedian, and he's currently on the Vegas Strip. He's performing at the Riviera. So we've got a fun day of golf where you'll come out at either a morning or an afternoon start. You'll be able to play golf, meet one of those two guys. They're going to say a few words for us with a comedy show in the evening. So something that...
What is that, or did you say?
That'll be June 6th.
Okay.
So this will be something that will look to be our signature event for 2015. We expect double shotgun, 100 players each, so it's 200 players. So we're excited to raise some good money for the Wounded Warrior Project, and we think that's going to be a pretty cool day for the club. Still going to be doing some stuff with Women on Course again this year. We have a Crab Fest that we'll do in late June, along with some glow golf, and then our first event to kind of kick off our tournament season. When I typed this morning, it was the Roberto Clemente Academy, but we actually have a group that's going to try and sneak in Good Friday. They booked with us this morning, so we've got some stuff on the books. The calendar looks full, but there's a bunch of stuff in the pipeline ready to go. We're just waiting on some weather. So
Are they still Monday events or a specific time? Because people sort of expect special outings at a particular time of the week.
I wouldn't say that there's any rhyme or reason to it, one way or the other.
Some clubs just program all those special events on a Monday, and it's just general knowledge that you can't come out.
Typically, in your private club setting, you'll see that, and the reason for that is the facility is usually closed on Monday, so they're able to take advantage of that day when they can just bring in some extra staff and generate some extra revenue on those days. But with us being in a public setting, there's not necessarily a day specified for outings or league or anything like that. So.
Plaxico doesn't have to come with double shotguns, does he?
Well, also, Roger, an important point is that if a member of Woodbridge is, let's call it inconvenienced by an outing, in the sense of Tommy schedules an outing for Tuesday and somebody wanted to play golf, well, you can send them up to Oxford.
Or Woodbury. We do. At 4 other Billy Casper facilities.
Did you mention that? Because people might be listening and want to know.
Sure, yes. We do have a reciprocal with the 4 other Billy Casper clubs in the area. It's Oxford Greens, Wittenberry, up in Bloomfield, Lyman Orchards, and then also East Hartford Golf Club. So we do make sure that if we do have to displace, that we've provided a solution for those members and guests. So, and the last thing I was going to touch on with you guys is I do have just a brief update on the financial. Obviously, not a whole lot going on, but you can take a look at kind of where we're at here through the first 2 months. On the top line, not a whole lot going on. You can see from the expense side, we're up $2,100, which is probably the difference on us not having a bunch of staff come in to answer the phones because we just knew we were going to be closed. So, if you do look at the year over year, you look at that 18,000 number, and you kind of say, well, what is that? We did a lot of our equipment being in the 4th year. We did a lot of repair stuff. So these are probably dollars that, since we knew we had an extended season, we actually brought that money in or brought those parts in early to take advantage of a lot of time that we have, so we can get some reels done as far as grinding out some reels, doing any preventative maintenance work. So that's where you see the majority of that. And then we also we've prepaid for an event in sales and marketing that will be held later in the year. So.
Oh, you had the show this past weekend.
We did.
Yeah.
So we did the golf show up in Hartford, 3-day event. We're excited. We generated some good prospects for membership, and then we also picked up a couple outing leads. All good stuff there. We think that thing will more than pay for itself, but we're pretty confident we're going to walk away with 3 to 4 members from the show. So that's going to continue to grow our total, which is always nice.
Anyone else have anything to add? Anything else we need to talk about? April 23rd meeting agenda. Obviously we want to update on where we are. I'm hoping that
We'll be open.
I'm hoping that. Well, shall we say we'll be able to see the ground, and Dennis, you'll be able to. Offer us a view of, how the winter was good or bad.
Right.
If there's any changes that you anticipate because of the length or severity of the winter.
That's the biggest talk of the town right now in the industry in the Northeast is how we're going to fare when all the snow's gone.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee once the turf is visible, even though it looks good, doesn't mean anything. So the key is once it starts to try to grow, that's the proof in the pudding. It starts to grow and it looks good, then you're off and running. Just to make mention, I did clean off the 18th green, which is our ice problem green. It's had ice damage history for years because everything drains to the middle of this green. And I was proactive last month. I cleared all the snow off of it, and I broke up all the ice that was existing just to stay ahead of it. And then last week, 12 Green, which is just near my maintenance building, is probably my next one I have to worry about. And I did clear snow off where it does drain off, and I did put a dark sand on it to draw heat to start channeling pores through the ice so it can get gas exchange. If the grass sits under the ice too long, I think the rule of thumb is 40 to 60 days. Basically, it'll asphyxiate itself because it can't release gases. And it'll just basically kill itself. So that was the fear.
So on 12, is it also a drainage issue? Or
Well, 12 is probably my next wettest because everything will drain through the middle of that green to the lower right front of the green.
okay.
So you have, ideally when you design a green nowadays, you want water flow to sheet 3 to 4 different ways off the green. Unfortunately on that green, everything goes through the middle and to off the right front of the green. So that's where all the ice accumulation
Sort of
goes.
my balls.
Oh, really? Sorry to hear that.
The ones you find.
That's right.
18 being the way, I don't know why it's designed the way it is, it's so different than all the others, but it's hollow in the middle and everything just drains to the middle and it only goes in one direction off. So it'll accumulate ice all the way through that middle. But I feel pretty good that we've stayed ahead of it and we should be fine once we start getting into spring.
Okay.
Dennis, you keep saying spring, Mike. It's going to happen. I'm
I
glad you're
hope
optimistic.
we have a spring because I've been in this business where I've seen us go from winter to summer.
Oh, yes.
And I hope that this
I hope you're right. I've
Because
seen it a lot.
It would be nice to have warmer temperatures, but the concern is there's so much setup work to do in the spring on the golf course. If I don't have that time,
I know.
and if the grass doesn't get a period of time to acclimate to a spring, to a summer, it's going to be a long year if we go right to summer. And I hope that just doesn't happen. And I've seen it twice now in this business. So,
On an overview basis, what's the expectation for rounds of golf in Connecticut? Is there any unit that forecasts or that keeps track overall of whether?
Tommy?
Last year we were at, we had seen an increase of right around, 10-11% Deke? But I think the industry,
The club, yeah.
the peer group as a whole was down about 2%. It's probably a year by year basis. Obviously with we look at what we call playable golf days, and those are days where the weather doesn't impact you being able to play the facility. So as a whole, I think you're going to see it varies club to club. As far as the measurable data that we have, I can just give you what we had last year, and that was that it was down 2% in our peer group. So.
And is it forecast to be down again this year?
I don't know if we necessarily forecast that number. I think that from golf as a whole has trended backwards in the rounds department, but it's also geographically based. I'd say Connecticut probably down 1% or 2%, but that doesn't necessarily mean going into this year that number would remain constant.
But we were up.
We were correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Would you attribute that to the quality of the course that you were able to achieve and that attracted people, your marketing program?
Sure. I would say that it's probably a combination of all those things. The golf course condition was good. The value created in the service, the marketing component. One of the things that we look at is it's called a Net Promoter Score, or NPR score, and that is how likely is somebody to give you a favorable evaluation when they play your facility. We went from a -12 to a positive 28, so that's a 40% swing in what we've seen in 1 year. We think that we're pretty close to really breaking through. The conditions are only going to continue to get better, assuming all things equal that the weather holds out. But we think that we've hit on some key performance indicators that will help lead the business forward in the next 3 to 5 years.
Where beyond 28 would you like to be? What's your expectation? What's your goal? How do you want to ratchet up that number? You said we were negative, 15 went up to 28, you said.
Sure. Okay, and the Net Promoter Score. I think it's continuing to do the things that we're doing, and then providing a level of detail in our service that will continue to grow that number. But we know that there's usually 3 components that make up that score, and it's usually the value created, and the formula for that would be the golf course condition, the service, and the price. So we would continue to find kind of our niche in the market, and then exploit it.
How do we rate with Lyman Hill? What do they score?
Lyman Orchard?
The Lyman Orchard.
It's funny you say this, because you will find that there's no right or wrong reason. Our highest performing club in the Casper portfolio is an 84%, but it's this tiny little 9-hole golf course in Florida. So I would tell you that, and some of our clubs at Longaberger, which is a very high-end public golf course in the state of Ohio, their NPR score is not nearly that. And so you think to yourself, well, wait a minute, there's this 9-hole course in Florida that there's so many of, and but what the NPR score does, it just tells you how you're getting across to your consumer that your consumer would recommend you. And so it's not necessarily that your golf course isn't a good course, or your golf course isn't, you're not making money. None of those things are really factored. It's just the ability that when someone comes and plays your facility, that they've enjoyed their experience and they would be willing to promote you to another facility.
Of course, one could say that you could charge $1 and probably get a 100% NPR rating.
Sure.
Or
correct.
And
correct. Yeah.
A little bit facetious,
right?
here,
Yeah.
But but obviously the issue is somehow balancing.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think filling in that sand trap is going to help us, because it's going to move the first hole along.
Right.
It's going to start to move that first hole.
Yeah.
Because it will change, because that trap isn't there that people are afraid of. And then when they go in it and go in the water, it takes another 10 minutes.
I don't know if you noticed, but one of Tommy's pictures here is a picture of
that exactly,
with the backhoe was there.
Right. Oh, yeah, my favorite.
Yeah.
And the meeting is on the 27th, and I won't be here for the next meeting.
27th.
Yeah.
That sounds right. Did I say 23rd?
You said 23rd, and I'm thinking I'm here on the
That's because
23rd,
we
but
had,
I'm not here.
because we had 220.
Yeah.
27th. Okay.
I love that picture.
So update, Tommy. I would like to see also what you're seeing in the mix of memberships.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier tonight that Twilight has been slow.
Yeah, and typically for the reason for that is, and you would think it would be the opposite way, but it's actually not. It's a little lower rate, so guys will actually hold off and pay it in one fell swoop. We don't see a lot of guys take advantage of the payment plan. They'll just come in with on the Twilight, and it's usually a little more of our value customer that takes advantage of it. So,
Plus, maybe it's more summer customer.
well,
Or
yeah,
even somebody who's
correct.
a school teacher, who doesn't work in the summer and
Right.
can
And
play,
has daylight
can
longer.
hit that time every time.
So I think that from that standpoint, we've made contact with those individuals, and it just like a weird coincidence. It just happened to be that those guys just haven't signed up as quickly as some of our others. But with that being said, I'd also like to get you a look at maybe some resident information, see who's playing the facility.
Yeah, I mean, we should go back and break that out of the the membership base. Is there anything else that anyone would like to?
Yes,
Excuse
good
me,
point.
April
Can we
27th?
get that? Can we get a breakdown of rounds in terms of who is playing, both in terms of residents here within a 10-mile radius or beyond?
Sure.
I mean, the various categories that you have, that would be interesting to track how we're progressing with rounds and who we're attracting.
And our segmentation is pretty in depth. I mean, I could probably get you single male over from 71 to 74 who like the New York Yankees, but only play golf on a Tuesday. But we'll put it into just some key categories as far as the resident, non-resident, weekday, weekend play, and then our kind of our 3 buckets that we usually work out of are our member rounds, our outing rounds, and then our public grounds. So just gives you a little idea of where we're at with that.
Anything else? Motion for adjournment?
So move.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.